It began like any ordinary day for most people, but for Chuck Norris, days are rarely ordinary. Dressed in his signature denim shirt, faded jeans, and a pair of alligator skin boots, Chuck strode through LAX as though he owned the place. People noticed him, but no one dared ask for an autograph. His presence was enough. GalaxySky Airlines, a high-end international airline specializing in ultra-luxury travel, had him booked in Seat 1A for a 12-hour direct flight to Tokyo, where he was scheduled to make a guest appearance at a global martial arts conference and humanitarian event. Check-in was smooth. Agents treated him with a mix of awe and caution reserved for natural disasters and American icons. As he walked toward the private boarding lounge, a child tugged his mother's sleeve and whispered, "Is that really him?" She hushed the child and gently nodded, as if speaking his name might summon thunder. Boarding commenced, and Chuck was the first to step into the jet bridge. Inside the aircraft, the lighting was soft, the champagne already chilling, and the seat in one, it looked like a throne made of carbon fiber and silk. Chuck nodded to the crew and settled in. He removed his boots, not out of courtesy, but because the floor trembled slightly beneath them. He reached into his duffel and pulled out a worn paperback titled Chuck Norris Doesn't Sleep. He Waits, a compilation of internet jokes he kept to remind himself that the world had once tried to explain him with humor. Trouble began when Ashley, a new flight attendant still adjusting to high-profile clientele, approached his seat with a furrowed brow. Ashley had been trained to watch for suspicious behavior, and when she saw Chuck resting his foot on the wood panel of the seat in front of him, she immediately assumed he was a tourist who had mistakenly wandered into the wrong section. She hadn't recognized him, somehow, and that was the first mistake. "Sir," she said hesitantly, "this is first class. May I see your boarding pass?" Chuck slowly lifted his eyes from the book, offered a gentle smile that once made a tornado change direction, and handed her the pass. "No problem," he said, voice like gravel wrapped in velvet. Ashley examined the name, Chuck Norris, and paused. It triggered something, but training overrode instinct. She turned to her in-flight supervisor, Greg, a man who had memorized the airline's policy manual but not American cultural icons. Greg, ever eager to show his authority, didn't bother to Google the name. "Sir, it appears your seat assignment is being disputed," he said. "I'll need you to come with me to resolve this." Chuck narrowed his eyes. "I paid for 1A, he said. "You might want to call the captain before you make this worse." But Greg was already summoning ground security, ignoring the growing murmurs among first-class passengers. One woman whispered, "Isn't that?" Her husband shook his head. "Can't be. Chuck Norris doesn't fly commercial." As the situation escalated, the captain, Captain Reynolds, radioed in from the cockpit to ask what the delay was. When told that a bearded man named Chuck Norris is refusing to vacate first class, the captain dropped his pen. "You fools," he muttered. "You've just started a war." Meanwhile, Chuck stood up, adjusted his belt, and placed his book gently back in his bag. "I'll leave," he said calmly. "But remember this moment." He walked past Ashley and Greg, each step echoing like a drumbeat of doom. Someone filmed him as he exited, his back straight, his expression unreadable. The clip lasted only 12 seconds but was uploaded within minutes to X with the caption, "GalaxySky just kicked Chuck Norris off their flight. God help them." It racked up 2 million views before Chuck reached baggage claim. GalaxySky's PR team was in a meeting when the first notifications came in. They dismissed it until the views crossed 10 million and hashtag Norris flight began trending. GalaxySky CEO, Laura Cartwright, was on a yacht in Nice when she got the call. "We did what to who?" she asked, nearly dropping her wine glass. Back at LAX, Chuck didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He didn't even call his agent. He simply walked to a private car, got in, and disappeared. By the time the plane landed in Tokyo, every passenger had been contacted by media outlets. One posted, "It was the most awkward silence I've ever experienced." Everyone knew. We all felt the fear. Meanwhile, Chuck brewed himself a cup of green tea at home, sat on his porch, and stared at the mountains. Somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried. The airline issued a weak apology. "We regret any inconvenience experienced by Mr. Norris during boarding." Social media exploded. Late-night comedians jumped in. Memes flooded every corner of the internet. Chuck Norris wasn't removed from the plane. The plane was removed from Chuck Norris. Comedian Trevor Noah quipped, "GalaxySky's next flight will be piloted by regret, with turbulence brought to you by justice." Celebrities chimed in. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson tweeted, "You don't kick Chuck Norris off a flight. You thank him for not flying the plane himself." Even world leaders joined the storm. Brazil's president joked that the airline had committed a diplomatic crime. Inside GalaxySky's boardroom, panic set in. They offered Norris a lifetime first-class pass, which was returned unopened. Then came rumors that Norris had been offered $5 million to endorse a competing airline, Sky Titan. He didn't confirm or deny it. All he did was post a single sentence on his rarely used social media account. "They should have let me fly the plane." The post went viral in under an hour. Shareholders started asking questions. Their stock took a dip, 1.2%. Not much, but symbolic. Internally, employees started whispering about a curse. "Ever since that day, things have been weird," said one pilot. "We lost 3 catering contracts, and 2 VIPs canceled flights." Chuck had done nothing. No press tour, no lawsuit, but his silence was louder than an explosion. The flight attendant, Ashley, resigned quietly. Greg was transferred to a route between Kansas City and Omaha. GalaxySky tried to spin the story, called it a misunderstanding, released footage that made it look like Chuck had volunteered to leave. But the public wasn't buying it. For the first time in years, Chuck Norris was in the headlines, and not because he'd done something, but because someone else had done something to him. And the world was watching to see what came next. In the hours that followed Chuck Norris's quiet departure from the GalaxySky jet, a digital wildfire erupted across the internet, spreading faster than any PR team could extinguish. What began as a blurry 12-second video of a stoic Chuck calmly leaving the aircraft turned into the most viral travel scandal of the decade. It started on X, formerly Twitter, but within minutes bled into Instagram, TikTok, and news outlets around the world. Hashtags like #NorrisFlight, #GalaxySkygate, and the more ominous hashtag #PrepareForImpact were trending globally by morning. Even accounts not normally concerned with aviation news joined in. Fitness influencers, meme pages, political commentators, and even environmentalists suddenly had a reason to weigh in. Overnight, Chuck Norris had gone from legendary martial arts icon to the face of corporate defiance, and GalaxySky had unintentionally become the villain of the year. Social media was ruthless. Someone posted a doctored image of Chuck standing on the wing of a GalaxySky jet mid-flight with the caption, "He doesn't need first class. He's first class." Another showed a split screen. On one side, Chuck in seat 1A, calm and still, and on the other, the GalaxySky CEO sweating profusely in a boardroom. Within 24 hours, GalaxySky's website crashed twice. Not for bookings, but from angry visitors flooding the contact forms to express outrage. A petition titled "Public Apology to Chuck Norris and Full Accountability" gained 3 million signatures in just 3 days. But that was just the start of the avalanche. PR analysts called it a Category 5 brand disaster. Attempts to apologize backfired. The initial statement, "We regret any inconvenience experienced by Mr. Norris," was seen as flippant, tone-deaf, and corporate boilerplate. Late-night hosts roasted the airline mercilessly. Jimmy Fallon opened his monologue with, "Chuck Norris wasn't kicked off the plane. He gave the plane a chance to live." John Oliver dedicated a full segment to the systemic collapse of airline etiquette and common sense, using GalaxySky as a case study in how to fumble PR with both hands tied behind your back and your ego in the cockpit. The backlash reached political circles when a U.S. senator jokingly introduced a bill banning the removal of certified legends from first class. It didn't pass, but it got airtime on all major news channels. In Tokyo, the martial arts conference that had expected Chuck as keynote speaker instead held a silent tribute, complete with a front-row seat left empty in his honor. GalaxySky tried to manage the narrative. They released edited security footage showing the encounter from awkward angles, attempting to downplay the confrontation and frame it as a routine seat correction. But eagle-eyed internet users deconstructed every frame, pointing out inconsistencies, cutaways, and the absence of Chuck's calm, yet unmistakably powerful demeanor in the most telling moments. They tried to edit Chuck Norris. One post read, "You can't Photoshop integrity." Their internal attempts at damage control were just as clumsy. An emergency Zoom meeting with global PR teams led to conflicting messages being published across different regions. In the UK, a statement read, "We value all passengers, regardless of perceived notoriety." In Canada, the message was warmer. "Mr. Norris, we're sorry." The disparity made things worse. Influencers began canceling their contracts with GalaxySky. A-list travelers posted screenshots of them switching to competitors. Luxury blogs downgraded GalaxySky from elite prestige to risky business. Even longtime investors began to worry. The stock took another hit, this time a noticeable 4.3% drop following an investor call where the board couldn't offer a clear roadmap out of the crisis. One anonymous investor leaked a memo from inside the boardroom. It read, "How do we fight someone who doesn't say anything? He's winning by being silent." Indeed, Chuck Norris remained absolutely quiet. He made no media appearances, gave no interviews, and issued no lawsuits. He didn't threaten. He didn't post photos. He didn't even nod. And that silence became thunder. People started quoting his stillness like scripture. In a world of noise, the loudest voice is the one that says nothing. Conspiracy theories began to emerge online. Some claimed Chuck was secretly launching his own airline. Others insisted this was a marketing campaign for a new film, and still others believed the entire thing had cosmic repercussions. Late one night, a GalaxySky plane experienced turbulence mid-flight, and someone posted, "Chuck sneezed." That single tweet got 500,000 likes. Meanwhile, within the company, chaos. Internal emails leaked showing infighting among executives. The VP of Global Experience blamed the training department. The training team blamed the hiring division. The CEO, Laura Cartwright, tried to ride the storm with a high-gloss interview on Bloomberg, where she referred to the event as a minor reputational bump. That same night, comedians pounced again. Calling Chuck Norris a bump is like calling Godzilla a lizard problem. Employees at GalaxySky began jumping ship. Several executives quietly resigned. Morale plummeted. A leaked Slack conversation from a company pilot read, "No one wants to wear the uniform anymore." We're the punchline of every airport joke. Competing airlines capitalized. Sky Titan ran ads saying, "Fly with us. We recognize legends when we see them." Delta offered Chuck a lifetime elite tier status, publicly. Even Emirates sent a gift basket with a handwritten card. "You're always welcome in seat 1A, Mr. Norris." But perhaps the most symbolic blow came from the martial arts community itself. The International Federation of Combat Arts formally revoked GalaxySky's sponsorship of its annual conference. Their statement was clear. "We do not partner with organizations that disrespect those who pave the path." Martial arts dojos around the world followed suit. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio in Sao Paulo released a viral video titled, "The Art of Not Removing Chuck Norris from a Plane," parodying the event and ending with OSS. The fallout had transcended social media. It was now embedded in business, politics, culture, and international perception. Even school children began referencing the event. One middle school in Texas reportedly banned GalaxySky from being mentioned during career day. The situation would have been salvageable, perhaps, if the company had acted swiftly, owned the mistake, and made things right. But their strategy, deflect, defuse, downplay, was the exact wrong formula when dealing with a living icon forged in the fires of internet mythos and real-world legacy. And then came the rumors of Chuck's quiet meetings. Unconfirmed reports swirled that he'd been spotted entering the Los Angeles offices of a major investment firm. Others said he was consulting with branding experts. A photo surfaced of him speaking to a team of lawyers. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He just stood like a storm waiting. Whether he planned to take action was unclear. But one thing was certain. The world was waiting for his next move. Meanwhile, GalaxySky was hemorrhaging loyalty, trust, and now money. They hadn't just disrespected a passenger. They had crossed a cultural force. And the thing about Chuck Norris is you don't recover from hitting him. He lets you destroy yourself. By the third week after the incident, GalaxySky Airlines found itself standing at the edge of a cliff. Public perception in free fall, internal leadership fracturing, and their market performance slowly bleeding out under the weight of ridicule and boycotts. But what came next wasn't just embarrassment. It wasn't a rough quarter. It was a coordinated collapse, an erosion of brand trust so complete that financial analysts gave it a name: the Norris effect. Investors had initially hoped the storm would pass, but that illusion shattered the moment GalaxySky posted its quarterly earnings report. Revenue had dropped by 21% compared to the same quarter the previous year, but the truly terrifying number came in the form of lost bookings. $157 million in cancellations, mostly from high-value corporate clients and elite flyers who no longer wanted to be associated with the airline that kicked out Chuck Norris. Shareholders began bailing fast. Over a 10-day stretch, GalaxySky's stock plummeted from $186 a share to $112, wiping out billions in valuation. The company tried to slow the bleeding with a high-budget PR campaign, television commercials showing smiling passengers, heartfelt testimonials from flight attendants, and even a bizarre ad where a bearded stunt double stood in front of a GalaxySky jet, clearly meant to resemble Chuck, but legally distinct. It backfired immediately. The internet wasn't buying their redemption arc. Late-night hosts called it the Airline Redemption Cinematic Universe. A YouTuber with 8 million followers posted a frame-by-frame breakdown of the ad, captioning each moment with, "This is what panic looks like." Even worse, former passengers began to share their own horror stories of GalaxySky flights. Minor delays, lost luggage, rude staff, and overpriced upgrades. The hashtag Norris was right gained traction, transforming the incident from a single scandal into a symbolic uprising against corporate arrogance. GalaxySky executives knew the situation was dire, but they underestimated what came next. Unbeknownst to them, Chuck Norris had quietly filed a formal complaint through the Federal Aviation Authority, not as a celebrity, but as a U.S. citizen, citing unfair treatment and customer misconduct. The FAA, eager to show it wasn't beholden to big business, launched a formal investigation. GalaxySky was slapped with temporary flight route restrictions on 2 of its most profitable international paths, LAX to Tokyo and JFK to Dubai, pending the investigation's outcome. That alone cost them an estimated $68 million in rebookings and penalties. But Chuck wasn't finished. Still without uttering a single inflammatory word, he made a move so precise it bordered on poetic. He partnered with SkyTeam, GalaxySky's closest competitor and the airline that had offered him lifetime elite status weeks earlier. A photo was leaked to the press. Chuck in full denim, standing beside the SkyTeam CEO on the tarmac, smiling slightly, boarding a flight to Tokyo. The symbolism was devastating. A PR team couldn't buy that kind of endorsement. SkyTeam didn't have to. It came naturally. Within 48 hours, SkyTeam gained nearly 300,000 new loyalty members, many of them former GalaxySky customers, elite travelers, and even celebrities. The message was clear: if Chuck flies with you, you're good enough for the rest of us. GalaxySky tried to downplay the partnership, calling it a publicity stunt, but the numbers didn't lie. By mid-quarter, they had lost 19 corporate travel contracts, including one with a multinational tech firm that had previously booked 10,000 seats annually. The financial press was merciless. Forbes ran a cover story titled, "How to Lose $400 Million in 30 Days, a Masterclass by GalaxySky." Bloomberg created a digital timeline called the Norris Cascade, mapping out the exact sequence of lost revenue streams, dipping stocks, media hits, and reputation damage. By the end of the fiscal quarter, GalaxySky had hemorrhaged over $400 million in combined losses, bookings, penalties, contracts, and brand value. Their credit rating was downgraded. Layoffs began, starting with 700 employees in customer service and operations. Pilots were offered early retirement packages. Several major airports announced they would reduce GalaxySky's access to prime gates due to reputational volatility. But the true death blow came not from regulators, not from social media, and not even from Chuck himself, but from silence. Chuck never once sued the airline. He didn't release a documentary. He didn't publish a memoir or do a revenge tour. He simply continued flying Sky Titan, making appearances at charity events, and occasionally posing with fans who asked, "Hey, were you really kicked off a plane?" He'd shrug and say, "I just wanted to read my book." That calm, effortless dignity made the entire industry look inward. Other airlines began updating their VIP policies. New training modules emerged focused on cultural literacy and legacy awareness, a fancy way of saying, know who Chuck Norris is before you ask him to move. A memo leaked from American Airlines' HR department with the title, Rule 1, Never Remove Chuck Norris from Anything. GalaxySky, meanwhile, was imploding. CEO Laura Cartwright stepped down under board pressure. The new interim CEO, a bland numbers guy from finance, gave a painfully awkward press conference where he mispronounced Chuck's name twice and then tried to laugh it off. The moment went viral instantly. Comments like, "He can't even say the name of the man who destroyed them," racked up millions of views. GalaxySky's brand, once synonymous with elegance and reliability, was now a punchline. Students in business schools were analyzing it as a case study in crisis mismanagement. Memes were still circulating 6 months later, including a recurring joke where Google Maps would reroute users around GalaxySky gates for safety. Even their pilots weren't safe. One was heckled mid-flight when he announced, "Welcome aboard GalaxySky," and a passenger yelled, "Only if Chuck says it's okay." Internally, employee morale hit record lows. Flight attendants wore uniforms they described as shame suits. A secret Slack channel named Chuck Watch shared daily updates about Chuck's public appearances and sarcastically tracked his movements as though they were a weather system. One post read, "Chuck landed in Dallas. Expect a 12% dip tomorrow." Eventually, GalaxySky's board announced plans to rebrand entirely. Rumors swirled about a new name, Aeronova or Skycore, but nothing stuck. Every time they tried to move past the scandal, Chuck's name came back like a boomerang launched by fate itself. Even their attempt to pivot into green aviation tech was met with comments like, "Chuck Norris already runs on clean energy, fear." And just when the company thought they had seen the worst of it, Chuck made one final appearance at an air show in Texas, where Sky Titan unveiled their newest luxury aircraft, the Norris One. A custom-designed jet inspired by Chuck's legendary presence, with sleek matte black paint, titanium-plated accents, and a first-class section dubbed the Roundhouse Lounge. Chuck said nothing during the ceremony. He simply placed his hand on the fuselage, nodded once, and stepped back. The applause lasted a full minute. That night, GalaxySky's last attempt at a counter-campaign, an awkwardly titled online ad series called We've Grown, flopped so badly they pulled it within 24 hours. And the final nail in the coffin came the following week when Sky Titan's market share overtook GalaxySky's in North America for the first time in history. It wasn't just a win. It was an extinction-level event. Chuck Norris had been kicked off a plane, and in doing so, proved once and for all that the laws of physics, finance, and reputation all bend to his will. He didn't have to punch. He didn't have to sue. He simply walked away, and GalaxySky never recovered.